She crossed the line and waited for you to explode, but instead of the screaming match she craved, you walked away in absolute silence. Most people ignore the psychological warfare of doing nothing. 99% miss the last part of this video, risking getting sucked back into toxic drama simply because they don't understand how silence absolutely destroys a fragile ego. Ego fracture: there is a deeply predictable behavioral loop that occurs when someone intentionally tries to hurt you. People with fragile egos do not inflict emotional pain randomly. They do it strategically. When she threw that insult, betrayed your trust, or crossed a massive boundary, her brain was anticipating a very specific reaction. She expected you to lose your temper, to raise your voice, to beg for an explanation, or to aggressively defend yourself. In the fascinating world of human behavior, this is called seeking negative social currency. She wanted your emotional explosion because your intense reaction is the exact fuel her ego needs to feel significant, powerful, and entirely in control of your nervous system. To deeply understand why your silence was so devastating, we have to look at the neurochemistry of toxic interactions. When someone thrives on drama, their brain is literally addicted to the predictable cycle of conflict. Provoking you releases a spike of adrenaline, and your predictable angry reaction provides the dopamine payoff. It validates their internal narrative. If you scream back, she can instantly play the victim. If you argue, she can twist your words and gaslight your reality. Your emotional chaos is the absolute prerequisite for her psychological survival in that moment. She desperately needs you to engage because without your reciprocal energy, her toxic behavior has absolutely nowhere to land. But then, you did the one thing her brain could not possibly compute. You looked at her, absorbed the reality of her disrespect, and you chose to say absolutely nothing. You did not slam a door, you did not hurl an insult back, and you did not send a massive, angry paragraph over text. You simply removed your attention, your presence, and your energy. This creates an immediate, catastrophic disruption in her expected behavioral script. By withholding your reaction, you completely denied her the neurochemical reward she was intensely craving. It is the psychological equivalent of pulling the plug on a machine right as it is powering up. The sudden, deafening silence creates a massive cognitive glitch. This is where the concept of the ego becomes incredibly relevant. A fragile ego is like a parasite. It cannot survive in isolation. It requires constant friction, validation, and emotional input from the outside world to sustain its illusion of superiority. When you offer zero friction, the ego hits a brick wall. Your silence is an impenetrable mirror that reflects her toxic behavior directly back onto her. Because you did not muddy the waters with your own anger or defensive arguments, her hurtful actions are left hanging in the air, exposed and entirely unshielded. She is forced to stand alone in the uncomfortable reality of what she just did, without the convenient distraction of your emotional meltdown. In those first few moments of your silence, she likely felt a false sense of triumph. Her brain initially interpreted your lack of response as a sign of weakness or defeat. She might have smirked or walked away feeling victorious, assuming she had successfully crushed your spirit, but behavioral science shows us that this false victory is incredibly short-lived. As the hours tick by and your silence stretches into the evening and then into the next day, a profound and terrifying shift begins to happen in her nervous system. The absence of your pursuit slowly transforms into a heavy, suffocating void. The realization sets in that she did not silence you. You actively chose to mute her existence. You have to realize the immense, aggressive power of doing absolutely nothing. By refusing to engage, you communicated the most devastating message a fragile ego can ever receive: absolute indifference. You signaled that her words, her drama, and her attempts to manipulate your emotional state are entirely beneath your standard of engagement. You did not have to utter a single syllable to prove your dominance. Your calm, unbothered departure loudly declared that she no longer holds the remote control to your biological responses. This abrupt loss of influence is precisely the moment her ego begins to fracture, cracking under the immense, crushing weight of your total and complete unavailability. Silent void. As your silence continues, her brain enters a fascinating and highly volatile state known as cognitive dissonance. She holds two conflicting beliefs. I am powerful enough to destroy his emotional state, and he is acting like I do not even exist. The human brain despises this kind of psychological inconsistency. To resolve it, her mind begins to spiral into obsessive rumination. She will replay the interaction in her head hundreds of times, desperately searching for a clue, a micro-expression, or a hidden meaning in your silence. Because you gave her absolutely no words to analyze, her brain is forced to fill the massive void with its own deepest, darkest insecurities and terrifying worst-case scenarios. This rumination triggers a massive physiological response. The sudden loss of control over you sends an alarm signal directly to her amygdala, the threat detection center of the brain. Her nervous system perceives your silence as a literal social rejection, which registers in the human brain as physical pain. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, begins to flood her system. She becomes hypervigilant, constantly checking her phone, analyzing your social media activity, and waiting for the angry text that never arrives. The psychological torture of not knowing what you are thinking or planning is infinitely more agonizing than the most aggressive screaming match she could have ever imagined. This is the exact anatomy of a narcissistic injury. A narcissistic injury occurs when a person's carefully constructed, grandiose self-image is fundamentally threatened by a perceived slight, rejection, or loss of control. Your unwavering silence is the ultimate injury. It deeply shatters the illusion that she is the center of your universe. It confronts her with the terrifying reality that you are perfectly capable of existing, surviving, and even thriving without her chaotic presence. She is no longer the puppet master pulling your emotional strings. She has been abruptly demoted to a background character in a life you are fiercely and independently controlling. Her ego is bleeding out in the quiet. As the pressure of this injury builds, you will likely witness a predictable behavioral phenomenon known as an extinction burst. In psychology, an extinction burst is a temporary increase in the frequency, duration, and intensity of a toxic behavior before it finally burns out. Because your silence has starved her of attention, she will frantically escalate her tactics to force a reaction. She might launch a smear campaign, post passive-aggressive quotes online, or suddenly reach out with a manufactured crisis pretending nothing happened. This is not a genuine attempt at connection. It is a desperate, flailing attempt to verify that she still has access to your emotional nervous system. When she launches this extinction burst, your absolute highest priority is to maintain the silent void. This is the hardest part of the process, because her provocations will be highly calculated to hit your deepest triggers. Your gut will scream at you to defend your reputation or to expose her lies. But you must understand that any response, even a calm, logical explanation, is a massive victory for her ego. If you reply, you immediately teach her that she just has to escalate her toxic behavior to a certain level to break your boundaries. By remaining a completely blank slate, you watch her frantic efforts hit an invisible wall, proving once and for all that her chaotic spells have permanently lost their magic. Eventually, the exhaustion of the extinction burst takes over. The human brain cannot sustain that level of high-alert cortisol indefinitely. When all her manipulative tactics fail to elicit a single drop of energy from you, her ego experiences a total collapse. She is forced to internalize the bitter, undeniable truth. You have outgrown her. You have elevated yourself to a psychological tier she cannot access. The silence that she initially viewed as a punishment has now become a permanent, impenetrable fortress around your life. Her ego is permanently broken not because you attacked it, but because you simply refuse to feed it, allowing it to starve in the cold, harsh reality of your absolute indifference. Absolute sovereignty. To fully master this incredible level of behavioral control, we must shift the focus completely away from her broken ego and center it entirely on your own neurological healing. The choice to remain silent after a deep betrayal is not just a tactical maneuver. It is a profound act of self-preservation. When you are deeply hurt, your own fight or flight system is violently activated. Your heart races, your hands shake, and your primal instinct is to strike back or demand justice. Choosing silence is the ultimate neurohack. By physically removing yourself and refusing to engage, you are actively sending a powerful, calming signal to your own vagus nerve, initiating the critical process of emotional regulation. So many people remain trapped in toxic dynamics because they are desperately waiting for an apology or for the other person to understand the pain they caused. This is a massive psychological trap. You are essentially holding your own healing hostage, waiting for a broken person to hand you the key. When you choose the path of silence, you are radically accepting that her closure is entirely irrelevant to your peace. You are deciding that you do not need her validation, her remorse, or her understanding to know your own worth. Silence is the profound realization that explaining your pain to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you is an absolute, devastating waste of your precious biological energy. Embracing this silence fundamentally rewires your brain through the process of neuroplasticity. Every single time you suppress the urge to text her, every time you choose to breathe deeply instead of defending yourself against a rumor, you are actively building new, resilient neural pathways. You are training your brain to decouple from chaotic stimuli. In the past, her actions controlled your reactions. Now, you are inserting a massive, beautiful pause between the trigger and your response. This pause is the exact space where true, unshakable sovereignty lives. You are transforming from a highly reactive participant in her drama to a calm, untouchable observer of your own magnificent life. As you settle into this new, elevated baseline, the physiological changes in your body become undeniable. The chronic tension in your jaw and shoulders begins to melt away. Your sleep architecture repairs itself, allowing you to enter deep, restorative cycles of rest. Your cognitive bandwidth, which was previously hijacked by endless rumination and imaginary arguments, is suddenly completely freed up. You possess a new, vibrant clarity that allows you to focus aggressively on your own goals, your physical health, and the people who actually deserve your brilliant energy. You realize that the silence did not just protect you from her, it actively curated a sanctuary of peace within your own mind. You must recognize that walking away without a word is the ultimate display of high-value social posturing. In a culture that encourages endless oversharing, public venting, and dramatic confrontations, a person who can absorb a betrayal, process it internally, and silently remove access to their life is incredibly rare and deeply intimidating. Your stoicism commands absolute respect. It signals to everyone observing, including your own subconscious, that your presence is a highly exclusive privilege, not a basic right. When that privilege is abused, the access is permanently revoked. No warnings, no dramatic ultimatums, just the swift, undeniable consequence of your sudden absence. You are the ultimate architect of your emotional reality. You never have to compromise your dignity by screaming, begging, or stepping into the mud to fight for your basic respect. True power is not the ability to destroy someone else with your words. True power is the absolute, unshakable discipline to deny them the satisfaction of hearing your voice. Let her sit in the agonizing echo of her own toxic choices. Let her broken ego wrestle with the ghost of the incredible person she foolishly pushed away. Step confidently into the beautiful, quiet space you have created for yourself, knowing that your peace is permanently secured and the absolute truth of your worth is undeniable. Be honest, have you ever felt that intense burning urge to send one last angry text, but chose silence instead? How did it change the dynamic for you? Let's decode it together in the comments below.